Good morning, guys. I tell you what, sometimes we do streams and we just get through it. Today, I have been looking forward to doing this for so long, and it is the benefit of being kind of the executive producer of my own brand, because I get to pick and choose what I get to show you guys. And you see this building right here? It looks pretty cool, because it is. I'm over here at Decision Tactical in Sanford, and you might be thinking, wait, what is Decision Tactical? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, because this is probably the coolest place in Central Florida that you can not only come out to hang out, have some good food, but if you're not a cop, you can experience cop stuff, or just want that tactical experience, or just have a good day. But I have a guest in the vehicle today, and I have Remo in the vehicle, owner, co-founder, and CEO of Decision Tactical. Sir, I appreciate you being in the truck with me today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So I always want to jump right to things because I get so excited about it. But first, I know so much about this place already, but I always like knowing a little bit on how this stuff even comes to fruition, because some people are like, man, Trooper Steve, you do this traffic stuff, you get excited about it. Were you really a trooper? And then I get to talk about the background and how I even got here. So, Remo, tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
About myself, I grew up here in Central Florida. I'm
Okay.
a local. We eventually ended up going to law school up in D.C. and then came back down to run businesses because I wasn't meant to be a lawyer.
No? What kind of law were you trying to get into?
It was contract law and regulatory law we were doing, and it was just too boring for me.
Like all administrative kind of
Yeah.
stuff, like paperwork and all that stuff.
Yeah,
You're like, I
going
want to be
back
out there.
Computer to library, computer, that wasn't my thing.
Okay.
And so I needed more interaction. I wanted to build something.
Okay.
And that's when I came down here and helped a family business for a while, and then sold that, and then started my own things, a couple of solar related
Okay.
items. So in the business world. And then in 2018, I sold my last business and had an opportunity to do something that I wanted to do and not just to put bread on the table. And that's where this concept started developing with another buddy of mine who grew up here.
Okay.
Also. His name's Oren. And so we both went to Lake Bradley High School. And knew
True
each other
locals
since-
right
yeah,
there.
Yeah, since middle school. And he came up with the general concept for this. It was different than what it is today, but it was the base of it.
Right.
And the more we looked into it, at first I told him, hey, that sounds awesome. You should totally do that, you know?
Like, you do it.
Yeah.
I'll watch it happen kind of thing.
But then the more that we watched the news, actually.
Okay.
And we kept seeing all the problems that were happening between the communities and the agencies, and how there was such a lack of understanding between each other, and the lack of training that you as a previous trooper, you know how much more training you want as a trooper, but you're not able to get it because of budgetary concerns.
Right.
And that's where this idea started evolving into, okay, how can we make this a much more advanced system that is more efficient financially to make it accessible to the police, and that's where the public comes into it.
I like it because you're trying to truly bridge a gap, right? And I think that is something to be commended, because it's a tricky world when you start getting involved in stuff like this, because not everybody immediately understands it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's been people that are like, I don't want to get involved in this and stuff like that, but you have a heck of a team here, from just the people that are working operations to the administrative portion. Talk to me a little bit about the people that you've brought in, that you have here, because I've gotten to talk to some of them, and some of their backgrounds are pretty intense.
Yeah, and pretty amazing how we actually hooked up with a lot of them. But as far as what you're talking about with bridging divides, it's on our building, as you saw a minute ago. So save lives, bridge divides, that's our whole mission. So it's save lives through training police first and foremost on how to do their job better, and then save lives on training civilians on how to survive crisis situations. What would you do? How do you properly run, hide, fight? You know, it's a lot of critical pieces on how to do that right. And then the bridging divides is the part that I mentioned about the communities. And so we hit both sides of that equation.
Okay.
And I know I'm diverting just for a second.
No, do your thing, man. We got time, man.
Okay. Because on the one hand, police, if the officers don't get proper training, then there can be mistakes, and we really focus on that side of it to make sure that they get the best training they can in immersive scenarios. So it's almost like a theme park ride that you're going through, and now you have to make good decisions under pressure. which is much more difficult than standing at a gun range with a perfect lighting and just shooting that one target that's not moving, right? So that's one part of it, including bias elements too. So we push the officers through, and we'll introduce people of all races and colors. And it's never about the skin color. It's always about the action. What is that person doing?
Right.
So if somebody happens to have any bias, we're going to do our darndest to work that out of them. And on the flip side, for civilians to understand how difficult it is to be an officer, what you had to do before, and how quickly somebody could draw a gun on you.
Right.
And when they go through these environments and they feel it, they feel how
Look, man,
scary
I
it
went
is.
through it the first time, and I was sweating.
Yeah.
Because it had been a while since I had been on the road. I brought my best friend, who's a flight nurse, trauma flight nurse with Air Care, and him and I grew up together. We grew up in Kissimmee, and he was like, man, we'd finish, and it's like, I really felt like I was experiencing something for the very first time. I explained to people that this is the most chaotic, controlled environment that you can be in.
And you're a person, so your friend, you're both trained to deal with crisis situations.
Right.
And yet you felt that. So we also hope and see that civilians feel the same kind of thing. And that way, next time they interact with an officer, because they felt it, they'll remember, and then hopefully they'll slow down their speech, show their hand, don't reach for anything. And if we can accomplish that, then we can go back to saving more lives, right? So it feeds itself in that sense, that we keep accomplishing the mission that we're after.
And this place is not just a training facility. This, you kind of have touched on a very entertainment side too. You guys have, there's a full restaurant in here, right? What do you call it?
Edutainment.
Edutainment.
So it has educational element to it, but it's very entertaining. So yes, we have a full restaurant, a full bar, and the idea is that, for instance, for special events, we can have all kinds of events because we have a whole separate area over there with event halls. So if we want to make it very inviting for the general public to understand what we're about. And then if we can get 200,000 to 300,000 people a year through this facility to understand what police officers have to go through, now we can affect real change and real understanding and save lives and actually make a difference in our community over here.
I think that's why I've grown such an obsession with you guys, because you're into building relationships. It's
Absolutely.
not just a business for you guys. Everyone here that I've met, whether it's your online staff that are representing the company, or the kitchen staff, or just even the trainers. You guys have Kenny that's working here. Are you kidding me? He's a local legend.
Yeah.
And everyone is just excited to be involved with stuff like this. And you don't find that often. Usually it's like, hey, how much money can we make right now? And you guys are encouraging people, whether you're a cop or you're a grocery bagger. Hey, come out and check this out, because you may think firearms are scary, but they're just a tool. And you guys show that a little bit here. I think that's kind of intense. You mentioned about the discretionary stuff. Talk to me a little bit, because I know about it. The second floor. You guys have I call it your engineering team. I'm not sure if you have an official name for them.
Dev Group.
The what?
Dev Group.
Dev Group.
Dev Group is actually what the Navy SEALs call SEAL Team 6.
Okay.
SEAL Team 6 is more of a news,
Right.
But Dev Group, and so we
call them the Dev Group.
Yeah, jumped on that and support them. So they're our development group, so Dev Group.
Awesome. So we have some really cool video that you guys provided, because I can't take the truck obviously inside, but talk to me a little bit about what we're seeing here in this video and how this kind of works, because these are civilians.
Yep, we got both civilians and officers, and the idea is that you go through these environments much like a theme park environment. In fact, we are referring to ourselves for the public to say it is an indoor theme park, a tactical indoor theme park at the end of the day, to experience what it's like. And so we have a shooting range that you're seeing right now, where it has all kinds of features like that turning and drawing that you don't normally do in a regular range. You can do that here because we're using non-lethal simulation systems.
There is not a bullet in the building.
There's not a bullet in the building. We have a metal detector before you go back to the simulation area to make sure that nobody accidentally forgot to disarm. So we make sure that it's completely safe, and none of these can actually shoot yourself or anybody else. So if you have been scared to try it, but you're interested to try it, or if it's just something that you want to perfect, we can certainly help on all those elements.
And the nomenclature of the weapon is pretty legit. You're getting the blowback. Yep. You're able to do mag resets. You're able to drop the magazine, reload, and continue to engage.
Just like the real thing.
And the weapon is controlled electronically, and you can preset how many rounds are in there and all that.
So that piece that's coming up soon here. So the technology you're seeing here is just the tip of the iceberg, where that Deborah mentioned.
It's a big tip of the iceberg, man, because it's pretty amazing.
Thank you. And there are a lot of features on it, but we still have so much more that we're continuing to build over here. But as far as the weapons, like you said, electronically, they're tracking everything you're doing. So how you're moving the muzzle, how you're pulling the trigger, it's tracking all these details that you don't normally get that kind of input. And so now you can make sure that if you're going to shoot, we're not advocating you should have a gun, don't have a gun, but if you're going to have a gun and you're going to shoot, make sure you hit the bad guy. Don't hit the innocent children in the back, don't hit the other people.
Identifying your target, knowing what the backdrop is and stuff like that.
And knowing how to do it right, because knowing theoretically is one thing, but actually putting it into practice and learning how to properly move and not flag other people and keep your finger off the trigger as you're turning and draw and not shoot yourself in the leg. All those things that are very dangerous, but we don't really train on them in a regular range, right? And so it's really important that if you're going to own a gun, do it safely. And this is one of the benefits, is that you can actually practice that way without hurting anyone.
So, because you brought up a good point, talking about on a gun range, which is a live fire range, whether it's at an agency or you're going to one of the privately owned places here locally, you can't do 90% of the things that you can do here because of the safety protocol that's there. Obviously, you're using live rounds and things like that. Here, talk to me a little bit about the rooms you have, because I didn't believe it when I heard about it, and that's why I reached out and I was like, I got to come out to this thing. You guys have, I wish I could drive the truck into the building, not literally, but you guys have opportunities like this one right here. Alleyways, you have a diner, you have a house, and then you're still expanding stuff out there. Like, talk to me a little bit about the technology behind it.
So that actually goes back a little bit to the people that we were so fortunate to meet that helped make this all happen. But yeah, the technology, it's the first of its kind. This doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. When we got into this, we thought, okay, we'll just go to one of the military shooting simulators that are out there, and the ones that you've used.
Of course.
I won't name names, but there are several others out there. And we went to them and said, hey, here's the concept we're trying to build. We can't find it anywhere else in the world. Can you help us build it? And we'll just use your technology. But they couldn't do it. And it was just, there was too much that we needed with communication, with multiple screens and networking and tracking everything you're doing as you're going through there. This is actually a picture of one of our regulars. He's an amazing gentleman, also military veteran, who loves doing the competition course, which you saw over there. That's Kenny Kaiser right there, who's the legend that you talked about. So the system is completely communicating, and everything you say, everything you do, even where you stand, can affect what happens. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure book.
Right.
That you just decide on what happens in the scenario based on what you're actually doing. And you're being watched the whole time.
Okay.
Both digitally, and there's a commander in that upstairs.
Right. Kind of supervising the floor. Right.
So yeah, we have commanders for each area that are watching everything you're doing, and everything can change based on what your actions are.
So it could be changed live, what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I remember when I went through similar like this exact scenario that you're seeing right here. I remember it was intense, there was a lot of noise, and there was a dog barking.
Yeah.
To the left there, and it was in its cage, it was yelling, it was barking, and I just ignored it, kind of thing, moved on. But at the end of the scenario, it was like, look, Steve, if you would have told the dog, hey, shh, relax, good, it would have stopped barking.
Exactly.
Because we would have stopped it from barking, because you understood what was going on and you at least acknowledged it. Unfortunately, if I would have shot the dog, I would have killed the dog.
Yeah. Luckily,
everything is digital in this building. I want to say that a million times.
It's actually my dog. I taught him how to play dead, and so
then he just rolls over and
so
stuff
he just rolls over, and we have the sound effect. So yeah.
And so if you say you had Sanford Police Department, which come here quite often with their training. I've got buddies over at Orange County TAC that come here. You had it recently, Seminole. You had a surveillance class that you guys were hosting. You guys can change it specifically for them, even to almost draw emotions a little bit, putting one of their officers in the green screen and planting them and stuff like that.
So there, you were talking about live. So not only we can change into which branch of our pre-recorded scenarios we're going to send you to based on your actions,
right?
But we also have that feature where we can have a live actor that looks like all the other characters on the screens, but it's actually a live actor. So now you tell somebody, hey, put your hands up. And that person says, hey, screw you, I'm not putting my hands up.
Right.
And says something maybe even derogatory about you to try to push your buttons on it, because it's a two-way conversation. And that's for police training. We do that heavily because we want to try to push their buttons and make sure that they can stay calm, cool, and collected throughout. But it's also used for fun stuff, like we'll put a CEO of a company where you have a team building event, and we'll put the CEO as a hostage in one of the scenarios. And so they'll face
like
one
the
of the
actual CEO. So they're seeing the actual CEO.
Exactly.
Of them,
and
right.
they can talk to that CEO live and talk to the hostage or the perpetrator also live at the same time, and try to see if they can talk him down and then maybe take action. And so all of that can be integrated into the actual set. And the other benefit, not only it's fun and cool, but it forces the trainee to treat every screen exactly like it's the real deal, because you don't know which ones are pre-recorded characters and which ones are not.
Right. I came here. I've been here twice. I was with you guys, wanted to experience, but this shoot house, pushing the competition course, just to hone your skills. I carry 95% of my time whenever I'm out of my home.
Right.
Sometimes I say, well, I got to carry at home. And my wife's like, why? I go, you never know. Toaster may talk back sometimes. And I go, Decepticons, you know? But she's like, why? She asked me, what is this place for you? And I go, it's proficiency. It's real world. It allows me to at least be familiar consistently with what I'm doing. I think we've talked a lot about law enforcement, but you provide some real world experience here, especially in the society that we're currently in, the climate that we're in.
Right.
You have a mall scenario that it sucks to talk about, but as civilians do have the right, Second Amendment rights, to carry a firearm. What range do you get, or where do you go to get your concealed weapons license where they're going to train you to shoot? They don't. Dry fire, pull the trigger, sit down, here's your license. To me, it's almost a joke.
Yeah, 5 shots you take at a still target.
And that's it.
And with a 22, and it's just not, you're not ready.
No, you're not.
A 2-hour class or a 3-hour class, you're not ready for that.
What has been your experience so far seeing that civilian element here? When they come here, you know they have zero tactical background, meaning law enforcement, military. Mm-hmm. What has that been received like when they come here and they're like, whoa?
So honestly, for civilians, it's more the respect that they walk out with. It's not, if you want to do actual tactical training, we have that, and including the defensive training, like with Kenny Kaiser, so we have advanced training, but for that you do a background check. For civilians, generally, it's experiential. It's to just kind of go through and see what it's like, and you see them walking out either saying, holy cow, I could never be a police officer, but I have respect for them now, or you see them saying, oh my gosh, I want to get into this police world, or I'm just really amazed by the whole thing.
It's very similar to like when you see, I'll say it, when you see reporters that have no background experience and all they do is tell the story, which that is a great job and our society needs it, but I'm a unique situation going from law enforcement to being a journalist, but they go to those simunition training and they walk out of there going, I could never do that, or now I understand the split-second decision that needs to be made. And sometimes they're making worse mistakes overreacting compared to what we're showing law enforcement are doing on a daily basis. And it's a very humbling experience for a lot of these people.
That's what we hear so many civilians come out of here saying. So the general public so often says, like, I saw the reporter go through a scenario or a simulator before, but I had no idea how difficult this was. And these, unlike the traditional simulators where you're standing still in one room, here you're moving from room to room. You're looking at angles. You're thinking about hallways. You're thinking about all the threats that could come from
Meanwhile, your heart rate's starting to increase. You're sweating.
And we don't only have the dog, right? We'll have a helicopter flying over. We'll have the pot on the stove that's making noise. We'll hit all of your senses as you're going through it, so that it really forces you to act under stress, under pressure in a way that you wouldn't before. And this New Orleans thing that just happened is a perfect example of the truck had 12 seconds the officers had 12 seconds to respond. In the time that the truck broke the barrier, until
the first shot was fired,
it was between 10 to 14 seconds, so roughly around 12 seconds to respond for that whole thing. That's not a lot of time to react.
No.
You don't have time to think too much. You have to be ready.
The normal person thinks, oh, that's 12 seconds. Count to 12 from the point a major incident happens to the first rounds are fired. It's like that.
It's insane how quickly it happens, and to even evaluate, wait, was this an accident or is this a terrorist
Right, you
threat?
have to decide.
You don't know which. Yeah, exactly. And so it's not a lot of time, and that's that holy cow factor that we want, especially officers, to know how to deal with, and for civilians to just experience and understand it. Again, with background check, you can also do some more advanced stuff, but we're just cautious about that.
You guys really preach the bridge divides, because I do think it just takes one conversation, one experience for that person who may have who have questioned law enforcement, but have never experienced or been in their shoes. This place kind of makes it go, I get it, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So segueing a little bit, we talked about all the good tactical stuff. Let's go to the entertainment side. You guys host some awesome events here, whether it's car shows, bike nights. You recently held the inaugural watch parties and stuff like that. So outside of the facilities, you guys have a pretty good food. You've got cornhole area, all AC. Talk to me a little bit about what you guys are hosting and stuff.
So yeah, we have all kinds of great events. We just had a big car show this past weekend with several hundred cars over here, old cars and supercars and so forth. We do have the full kitchen. It's an open kitchen, so you can see how they cook. You can see the cleanliness of it and the quality of it. Full bar for the whole thing. And so we do things like, right now you see on the building there are those little hearts, because this next weekend we're doing a whole Valentine's Day event.
Right.
This weekend there's also a Super Bowl watch party.
And you guys have TVs everywhere. You guys are always having the games on and stuff like that. Specials, come on out, first drink on us kind of thing. How's that been working for you guys?
So we're actually still getting the word out for the civilians. We have a lot of agency training, so most of the major agencies around town are already here or working on coming over here through the red tape process. And then the other big part is for events. We have a lot of team building events, corporate events, things like that. The general public, we're still getting the word out, and we see for big events like that, that's when they come in by the drones. In fact, for the inaugurational event, the watch party, the line literally wrapped all the way around the parking lot, and we unfortunately couldn't even fit everybody because we had
right. You got rules still you got to abide by, but to see that, you guys have become almost like, hey, where are you watching this at? What are you going to do? Let's go over to DTAC and kind of hang out a little bit.
And that's what we hope, that people will see, the fact that it's not just a high-end training facility. I mean, very cutting, but it also has this whole experiential side. Like you said, the cornhole, we have pool tables, we have the bar, we have the TV, so it's just a fun place to come hang out. And when you sit at the bar, by the way, on the back of it, you can see the shooting range. So you can watch people at the shooting range as you're having a drink on the other side over there.
I love the fact that you guys theme it out too, because for, like you said, Valentine's Day, you have the Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of thing going on. So where couples can come out here and do it together, have a good meal, go through the course, have a drink, and have a really good experience while you're at it. Guys, I'm telling you, you guys know I'm a foodie. The food here is so good. So good. That cauliflower that you guys have, so fire. Monique was like, when I was here last time, she was like, all right, you need to try this, you need to eat this, you need to have that. I was here recently because you guys hosted Sergeant Frank Imperato from UCF, his watch party, because he was on the HBO series being a magician, and so there was a bunch of us here to watch that. You guys are building relationships in the community.
We're trying. We're definitely trying. I never served myself. I was on the fence with it, and then wife, kids, Monique.
Right.
For those that don't know, that's my wife.
Yeah. I don't like to put that out there without making sure it's okay with him. So I always just say names, kind of thing.
I'm very proud of my wife.
Oh no, she's amazing
29
here.
years married, and
congratulations, man. That's awesome.
So I don't remember where we were.
Well, we're segueing into creating relationships in the community.
Yeah, so we really do focus on that heavily, because I was saying that I didn't serve in the military, but this is
the way
my
you're
way
serving.
to get back. I always felt guilty about not actually going through with it, and kind of missing my window, and so this is a way for us to give back.
You're creating a place for first responders to come out and get that accelerated training, and for civilians to see that the only reason you have certain fears is because you don't know. And I think I've told so many people about this place that I work with, because the current environment, I've been doing it now, 8 years. Copy that. And doing this for 8 years, and no one I work with has the background I have. So telling them to come out and to experience something like this, I think gets people to start thinking a little different, that your safety is your responsibility, and you should know what you're doing before you start getting yourself into it. Real quick, hours that are open to the public.
So Monday through Thursday, 5 o'clock till 11 p.m. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's 11 o'clock till 11.
So you can come out here any weekend, have a great time, experience it. Guys, it's affordable, it's really good, and we're right next to the Sanford Seminole Town Center. Used to be an old movie theater, and that's why this place has so much space and the facility is so awesome. So Remo, I appreciate you, sir, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Guys, come out to Decision Tactical. Check this place out. First, the building looks tactical. It's got this like kind of vibe to it. Located right by Seminole Town Center. You can just look up Decision Tactical. Check this place out. There's a lot of upcoming stuff and events. And of course, we will post this all over social media. So for now, stay safe, save lives, bridge divides. Decision Tactical. We'll talk to you guys later.
Steve.